Steele, can you give us an introduction on who you are and then jump into your presentation, please?
Yep, happy to. I'm a little jealous of Chad's background, though. I want, like, it looks very official, Chad. All right, so my name is Steele Kizerian. So I'm an EOS implementer. And I said in the other networking group, I'm a lifelong serial entrepreneur. I'm a 6th generation entrepreneur. It's in my DNA. It's a sickness. It's a disease. I can't get away from it, kind of a thing. I just love it, and I always have. And I built up several businesses, and some have just been like major train wrecks and like horrific, traumatic experiences. But Nelson Mandela says you either win or you learn, you don't lose. So I've learned a lot from those. And I also built some successful ones. We have multi-state locations, huge growth from scratch. And then another implementer, at the time I was in Houston, he had introduced me to EOS and said, hey, you really should look into this because you like to train and facilitate. And I said, yep, you're right. So I jumped right in and read the book Traction and really dove fully into it. So that's kind of the quick little intro. So let's get on the topic. Is that okay, Taylor? Can we jump right in? All right, great.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So a lot of times, like when someone says, hey, I want to sell, and people, when you're wanting to sell, you don't think automatically, oh, so in 6 months, I'm going to sell this business. You want to start thinking ahead. So if you want to sell, give yourself the runway to get the most out of the highest multiplier, the most value you can get. So I always say, give yourself at least a 2 to 3 year runway. Like, I want to sell, great. What's the strategy? And the number one thing I ask people is this one question. Okay, I ask, are you owner dependent? Are you owner dependent? And sometimes people automatically are like, yep, like if you were to die or if you were gone or something happened to you, what would happen to your business? Are you the business? Are you the brand? Is the music only in you? Are you the only one with the secret sauce, right? And so if you are owner dependent, that's a big problem when we're talking about selling. And I'm not just saying selling to private equity or to somebody else. That's even within a partnership. That's even with an ESOP, like employees buying you out. That's even with your succession. If you're going to be handing it off to a daughter or a son, you have to think the same strategy, because you don't want to hand off to a son a business that's dependent 100% on you. That's a problem. Right now, they're inheriting the relationships, the networking, the systems, all this method into their head. And so we have to start shifting from being owner dependent to more leadership team and operation dependent, and make this transition, right? Because right now there are so many business owners. I'm like, you're not a business owner. You're an owner operator. You're an employee of your business. You don't own your business. And some people don't like that, but it's the truth. If you're owning it, I always say this, if you were to step away for your business for 30 days without any contact, you had no cell phone, no laptop, no internet, for 30 to 60 days, what would happen to your business? Would there be like all heck break loose? Would it be, would sales be like this? Would they skyrocket? Or there be so many fires and issues and problems and chaos? And so one metric is like, hey, if I were to step away and things are running smoothly, actually better because I'm actually in the way and holding it back, now you're starting to build a business that is not related to you, only dependent on you. When people are buying, they're looking at, like, of course, they're going to look at your financials, but they're also going to look at the team. What team have you built? Are you, that's that leadership. They want to see growth. They want to see consistent growth, not just periodic spikes. Are you consistently scaling, consistently growing? Have you kind of created some barriers to entry? Is it hard to come in and compete with you? What have you built that way? How are your margins? What does your profit look like? You might have high revenue, but really low profits. So you want to show high revenue with high profits. What's your customer mix, right? They're going to look at that. People are going to say, hey, is 80% of your revenue within one client or two clients? That's a risk, right? That all of a sudden makes people nervous. They want to see recurring revenue and all these things. So really, when people are looking to buy a business, they want to find a business that has sustained increased value and you've decreased their risk. When you're owner dependent, you are increasing the risk for the buyer. They are not willing to pay a premium because then they're like, man, we're going to have to come in. We're going to have to bring in all this stuff. We might have to keep that person on, pay them a lot more money to stay on for longer than maybe we wanted for this transition because now it's more on them. But if they can step in, buy the business and it's running, it's rocking and rolling, they'll pay a premium for it. And so what I wanted to show is what we do like at EOS and how we help businesses to be operation dependent and not owner dependent. So I'm just going to share real quick, like briefly here. I normally do like a full on like 90-minute thing on this. I'm not, don't worry. I'm just going to go super fast, high level, but this is the EOS model that we use that will increase the value, decrease the risk, and start shifting from being owner dependent. A lot of times, like that vision is where are we going as a company? How are we going to get there? We have to agree, not just the owner. A lot of times it's in the owner's head, but it's not communicated to the leadership team. It's not communicated to the rest of the employees. We got to get everyone rowing. Everyone's in that boat. You don't want just the owner, the only one rowing. Everyone's got to be rowing, and they got to row in the same direction and at the same speed so that we're not going in circles. We got to be laser focused. So let's create the vision together. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Those are the long-term things like your 10-year target, the 3-year picture, your 1-year plan. We use a thing called rocks, quarterly rocks, the priorities to really create the momentum and alignment. The next big one is the people component. And the people is we got to get right people in the right seats. Right people in the right seats. How do you know someone's the right person? How do you know they're in the right seat? If the right seat means they get it, that role, they want it, and they have the skills to do it well. You got to have yeses all three. A right person is someone that matches the core values of the company. They're just a good fit. When you have both in a leadership team and everyone on the leadership team is a right person in the right seat, they own that function, they're knocking out of the park, that's you beginning to let go as an owner. So hard for owners for us to let go because we're like, man, I can't delegate. If I delegate, then I got to spend all the time to train them and they got to do it. They're not going to do as good as me. And I'll just do it. And they just keep saying, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. And so we got to say, hey, no, like start to let go. But you won't let go until you know I have got right people in the right seats. Another thing we want to do is data. Start making decisions, not off of our gut, our pride, our ego. Well, this is how I've always done it. And this is this. Like, let's start doing off of data. Because if we can show that to prospective buyers that here's the data that we collect and here's how we measure things on a weekly basis. And this helps us know the health of the company and how we consistently make decisions, that increases the value, it decreases the risk. When you get really good at vision and people and data, what happens in the company? A lot of issues. Woohoo! So we got to get a lot of problems. That's normal, that's natural. So as a business, we have to get really good at setting a problem up and solving it forever. Too often we're solving the same problem. We're just solving the same issues. They're just maybe under a different client name or it's masking or something. We got to find out what is the real problem, the root cause. Like if you go to a doctor's office and you're like, hey, my stomach hurts. He goes, oh, great, here's some Pepto-Bismol and see you later. No way, right? That doctor is going to ask you a lot of questions. Well, where else are you feeling? Well, actually, I'm having pain on my left side. In your head? Well, what did you eat? What did you do? Where were you? Was it this? Was it that? Like, we have to be detectives and doctors to be able to assess the real problem we're solving. And when we do that, then we also need to set up the right processes, right? This is where you become more, you start to delegate more, you get more structure, you got more systems. We got to systemize the business. Core processes, we got to document them. And this is the model where you become more consistent, because too often people will come on and they'll just keep doing it and they keep winging it, or they keep making mistakes. We're like, no, you got to do it the Taylor bench way, right? This is how we do it. We do it the right way, the best way, every single time, right? Kyle Adair, Transcend Translation. Hey, this is our proven process. We do it the right way, the best way, every single time, so that we can predict better and that our clients know what to expect. And that's our quality, but it also helps us to scale when we have these processes that are documented, they're simplified, they're easy to follow. And then the last part is the traction piece. Is you got that vision from the owner, great. Now let's bring it down to the ground, let's execute on it. Because if we can show our prospective buyers that, hey, we have powerful leadership team meetings that are super effective. We're always focused on our most important priorities, but we're predicting long-term, executing on the short term, and we're adapting or pivoting as needed. It shows, man, you are becoming a well-oiled machine. And, lastly on that piece here, because I know we'll have time for any questions, but the last thing is we got to be strong in each of those 6 components. Too often we might be strong in 1 or 2 of them. You got to be strong in each of them. You're not going to be 100% strong in each of them. It's impossible. It's utopia, but we can be 80% strong or higher in all of them. We have to. Our business deserves it, right? And so the business is the vehicle to what we're wanting most. And so we got to create the momentum. It's the balance. We got to have it all. And my last point is I was on a call with an investment bank, and they said, hey, we were just kind of networking, connecting, and they told me about a study that they had done. And they said, we looked at all of our transactions, all of them. And over the course of the years, worth hundreds of transactions, worth billions of dollars. And we said, which ones were the seamless ones, the best deals, the highest multipliers, the ones that were like headache free. And they found those. And then they said, which ones are the similarities? What was similar? What was common? And he said, all of them were running on EOS. I didn't pay him to say that. I promise. I was shocked. I actually didn't believe him. Like, you're lying. You're trying to make me feel good. He goes, no, really, all of them are running on EOS. And so we always tell people, hey, go do EOS for 2 to 3 years, then come back to us, right? To be able to create this team, the scaling, the structure, right people, right seats, those types of things. So remember, are you owner dependent? And think, do I have right people in the right seats? Am I making decisions off the data? Right? Am I solving issues at the root cause? Do I have my systems documented, simplified? And am I executing? And then as you do that, remember this, look for ways to increase the value while also decreasing the risk for your potential buyers. So that's it in kind of a quick nutshell.
Steele, that's awesome. Love it. The nutshell was perfect. I think there are a few questions in the chat that I think would be good to have you address and jump into. First one from Jeremy Porter asking about the most critical things to look at when buying a business. Jeremy, do you want to unmute yourself and give any context better than I do?
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly just a comment that is yours. So I'm looking for a business to buy, something small, like in the $1 million EBITDA range. And so you often see a lot of businesses that, that have been started by the owner. The owner has been running those businesses for the past 10, 15, 20 years. And they're often, I think what gives me pause as someone looking to buy a business is exactly what you said, right? how dependent is that business on the owner, and can I replicate or improve, what that current owner is doing? And so it's like a careful mix of, my own capabilities against what the owner is doing. And a lot of times what you see you see them playing primarily that chief sales type of a role, right? And so, if they were to leave for 30 to 60 days, do they have someone, or permanently, do they have someone that can step in and continue to help drive those sales? And I suspect, for a lot of tech companies, maybe they're the primary product person that have been developing the product shepherding the product over the past 10, 15 years. And so I think it's just more of a comment that, yeah, this is exactly what I'm worried about as I go out and look for businesses.
Love it.
Jeremy, what kind of framework are you looking at when you are assessing that risk? Because as Steele was presenting kind of that EOS circle, it seemed like those would be good factors to say, okay, in the transition, which of these are going to be the most sticky or difficult to overcome? Do you have others that you look at, or is that kind of along the same lines as what you're doing?
No, it's definitely along the same lines. And then again, it's kind of understanding for that owner and the role that they play, how big of a role is that? And I think it's fine, if they do play a big role. I mean, for me, as someone looking for a business to buy, it's just, can I replicate that role then?
Yeah.
And then maybe start to put in some of those things that you were talking about to make it less, less dependent upon me moving forward. If it's dependent upon the owner now, I just want to make sure that I can replicate what the owner is doing or improve what the owner is doing as I, think about making it less dependent moving forward.
Yep, absolutely. I love that. Let me see here. Anything else there, Taylor, on questions or anything?
Yeah. So Chad, do you want to unmute yourself and talk about kind of those tolerance of mistakes that you were asking about?
Yeah, thanks. Steele, awesome presentation. Thank you. Just wanted to ask you, as you're talking about, the qualities and criteria of the team that you're trying to build. My question was really about, in that process, like you have this kind of entrepreneurial death grip, right? And so you have to let some of that control go. And I just wanted your insights about how much tolerance for mistakes and errors, because these new people that you bring on are going to make some. And what's your take on that? How much? What should your tolerance be for mistakes made by these team members that you're trying to roll off responsibilities to and put the company into the hands of fresh operators instead of holding on to it with that death grip yourself?
Yeah. So like something that I talk about a lot is, I mean, obviously there's a ramp up time whenever you're bringing somebody else on, right? There's a little bit of ramp up, but if they own a specific seat in a specific function, and you're interviewing them and they're saying they've got all this experience, right? They say it, you hope that it's true. I'm sure there's tests out there to test it, but you're still gonna make some hiring mistakes. And I would say, me personally, as I'm listening, as I talk to my clients, they go, there's a little bit of it, but after a certain point, it's like, if it's a big enough mistake that, hey, if you own this seat on the leadership team, that means you get it, that you understand everything that it takes, you want it, meaning you wake up, you're passionate, you're excited, and you have the skill set. The moment you feel like I am hand-holding and now I've got to micromanage, you've made a hiring mistake. The moment you do that, it's like, oh, darn it. Because it's about delegating to elevate it so that you can grow and scale. And I always say they don't have to do 100% as good as you, but I'm like, if they're at 80% as good as you, let it go. But there's an expectation, especially on that leadership team, that you're going to take this and run with it. You've already built out the proven process, Chad, on a lot of those things, but each seat, meaning finance, ops, BD, your own sales, your own marketing, that I'm expecting you to come in and take it by the horns and execute on the vision that we've already done. I don't need you to change my vision. I don't need you to come in and custom this and that. No, here's our proven process. I need you to run with it. There's a little bit, of course, there's some mistakes. That's just learning your way. Maybe they've done it their way for 15 years. and they're learning your way. But I would say after a certain point, like if there's some big ones and it's consistent, there's a pattern, then you've known, maybe not the best decision. They may be a right person, they fit the culture, but not in the right seat.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Steele, there are a couple of other questions, one from Jacob, one from Parker. They are kind of a little bit aligned in that Parker's wondering if a certain profile of business fits within the EOS model, and Jacob is asking, are there certain types that lend themselves well to EOS, or does it work for all types? How do you have to customize it or think about that in different types of businesses?
Great question. So EOS is industry agnostic, so it works for any industry. The sweet spot for size is on average about 10 employees to 250. Me, myself, I have clients that have 5, right? And it can work because like what matters to me is the psychographic of the team and the owners. Like, what do they value? What's important? Are they growth oriented? Are they entrepreneurial? Are they open-minded to other people's thoughts, or do they just got a lot of ego, a lot of just like, I don't need this, I can do it myself? Are they entrepreneurial? Do they hate the status quo? Maybe they're hitting the ceiling in revenue or in people issues and problems. So that's, I care more of like, are they humble, coachable, vulnerable? Are they open to that? And so much size doesn't matter, but you gotta have a couple, at least I'd say 4 or 5 minimum, because then you have a team and it's executing with a team to make it work. The only industry where EOS doesn't work well, there are 3 things. EOS is not going to be about you trying to figure out product market fit. So if you're trying to determine, hey, I've got a marker and I think everyone's going to want this, but I have no idea. I don't have a single sale. No one's bought my stuff, but it's the coolest one. And this marker is $150, but it's the best whiteboard you're ever going to want. Do you really have product market fit, right? So as long as you're not trying to figure that out, because EOS is about execution, and it's not about like trying to figure this out. So I would say that, and there's one industry that I would say it doesn't work great in, and it's a law firm, where the law firm is, each of the lawyers are, they're sharing the front desk, but they're sharing the space, but they're all individually billed, and there's no real leadership team. They don't have an office manager. They don't have a head of marketing type person. It's just all them individually. Then it usually doesn't work that way. Other than that, it'll work for any industry.
That's great. That's helpful information. I think a couple of the other comments, one that I am a bit aggregating here for you, Steele, but Jeremy and Nate both talked about buying businesses in their comments. I'm wondering how you would suggest someone use that framework that you showed in the slide to assess businesses that they're going to buy. Like, is there a priority? Are there like higher priority than others if you're looking to purchase, or how would you go about using that framework to assess companies that you're looking to acquire or buy?
So on answering this, I'll just say what I think. This is not based off of like data, and just want to clarify that so everyone knows, so I'm not just making this stuff up. And I'm not like a valuations expert, right, on like the actual valuation, but the framework would work. For example, most serious buyers of companies are going to want really good financials. They're going to want audited financials eventually, and they want, I've talked to several experts in the exit industry, and they want 2 years audited financials. So if you haven't done it, I'm like, great, work on that. Let's work on the team. Let's work on this. Like, it all matters, right? Like, that's, unfortunately, it all matters. And you just got to start. And I always say, start with getting a team. Because when you get a real team in place, a real good leadership team, then you can scale more, you can grow more, you can withstand. You've now grown internally to be able to grow externally. Too often we grow too fast externally, then we can't withstand the growth, then we're not taking care of our clients. and they're upset, and then we're not fulfilling. Now we're not getting referrals, we're not getting repeat business. So I would like to say is, hey, grow internally, get the leadership team, because then as a team, you can tackle it. You can solve anything. You can solve any barriers to entry, creating them. You can solve, hey, how do we grow? How do we become more profitable? You can look at the numbers. You can work on the financials. You can work on the customer mix. How do we get recurring revenue? How do we do this? But now it's not all you. And I would just, for me, I'm biased. I'd say, let's get right people in the right seats. And then we can grow and scale it to be a very profitable, like higher multiplier. That's, I would focus on that first. I might be biased though.
No, that's helpful. I think it also kind of leads into the last question in the chat, Nathan put in there, and this may, I think we'll probably only have time for you to address this last question, and then we'll close up shop for the day. But as you look at the EOS implementation, Nathan, do you want to you can unmute yourself or give some
if you guys can hear me okay.
Yep.
Great. So yeah, looking at the EOS website, I didn't really see a page that kind of showed your trophy wall or anything that says here were the successful exits of the companies that have implemented EOS. Is there really anything that kind of shows or makes a case for EOS besides, I don't know, in terms of exits? Do you know what I'm saying? There are a lot of different strategies people could take, different models you could implement to running your business better. And what is EOS in terms of how is it different from any of these other strategies in getting buyers or potential exits in your future?
So a few quick things on that. Like, I'm not too familiar with other actual systems. I kind of just focus on this. And we always say, find a system that resonates with you, take it and run with it, right? Pick one and do it. EOS just may not be a fit for everybody. I also wish that we had data from all the, I think right now we have over 24,000 companies worldwide working with an implementer. You know, so like, over 180,000 are using some tools. They've sold 2 million copies of traction. There are a lot of case studies internally that they've talked about of people who've exited, you know, 100 million, 500 million, 50 million, all these different ones, but they don't put it on there. Why? I have no idea. I wish they did. It'd be awesome. It would make it even easier. And so, yeah, and then so I think I answered. I'm trying to remember. There's because I heard like 3 questions in one. But did I miss a question, Nathan?
No, just looking for metrics, and I was thinking the number of exits that a group might have after having adopted EOS versus those who don't might be a good metric. But any other metrics for success would be interesting for me to see.
Yeah. Me too. It'd be great.
Awesome. Well, great questions. Thank you all. Steele, thanks for spending some time with us. This was great. Are the slides that you presented something that Hannah could share with the group? Would you be able to share those with her? She could send. Okay.
Yeah.
And then did you put your contact information in the chat if people want to reach out to you?
Let me do that.
Okay. So if you want to connect with Steele, just grab the contact information in the chat. Again, really appreciate your time today, Steele, and presenting and having the discussion. Thanks everybody for joining in today. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.